See that? That is patina on my food prep knife. We're gonna knock this into shape. Stick around. Okay, so what I got here, don't need that. What I got here is the knife. I've got a lot of wet and dry sandpaper, a bowl of water, and a beach towel. And the reason for the beach towel is twofold. One, I don't want to get this table all soaking wet. And second reason is that I usually do convex blades with a mouse pad, but I don't know where it is. So the thick beach towel is going to cushion it a little bit so that while I'm working to clean the blade up, it's going to maintain the convex of the blade. So that is that. Let's get to work. There's a little bit of pitting here. It's just surface rust. Okay, I can deal with that. So I'm going to start, no, that's 2,000. I'm looking for an 800. There's a 6. I may use that. 800. Because I'm just taking a patina off, I don't think I need to go to like a 400 or a 100 or blah blah blah. I'm gonna start with an 8 and then go from there. Start by getting our sandpaper wet. It doesn't have to be completely sodden. It just has to be wet enough to count. And then what I'm gonna do is just start. It's a good idea to cross hatch it while you're doing this, just for the simple fact that it speeds up the process. Now, there's nothing wrong with having patina on your blade. In fact, having a nice patina on a blade can protect it from further rust damage. I have blades that I've allowed a patina to develop on. Some people force one with mustard, or I think you can do it with vinegar. Anything with some acid to it, you can force a patina. And as I said, it's a great way to lessen the maintenance factor of a blade, because it keeps real rust from setting in. On this one, I like the look of a high gloss blade. I like the contrast between the rough forging and the ground and polished blade. Edge, not blade. I mean, the whole thing is a blade. Okay, we're about ready to go up to 1,000. See, we got all those little scratches there. Gonna try to get rid of those. Okay, so that's the 800. Gonna put that over there to dry. What do we got here? 1,200. Okay. Get it good and wet. Get it good and wet. There you go, nice and wet. Looky there. So what we're doing right now is we're just trying to sand out the scratch marks. Just polish them out. The reason we're going in smaller increments, 800 to 1,200 instead of 800 all the way up to 2,500 or something, is because the smaller increment takes away scratches faster. Like if we were to go from 800 all the way to 2,500 or something, it would just be like forever, you know? Let's see if I can catch the light here. It's getting better. It's getting better. Okay, so I think we can probably move up to about 2,500. And that's where I'm going to stop. I have 3,000 as well, but that's just ridiculous. 2,500 to 2,000. And no matter which grit you use, you still do essentially the same moves. You're still cross-hatching because it's still removing material faster and getting rid of those lines. Look, you don't have to get rid of every single scratch, but if you're gonna keep rust at bay by doing the glossy thing instead of the patina thing, then it's a good idea to get rid of as many of them as possible. I'm not gonna get this to a full-on chrome gloss. I don't have the patience for it. It takes way, way too long. But I'll get rid of as much of the scratchiness from the previous grits of sandpaper as possible. And what I'm using right now is a 2000. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's a 2000. It came with a kit of wet and dry sandpaper that I got from Lee Valley. That is not a paid endorsement. Everyone relax. By which I mean the Mounties or YouTube or whatever. But I do like watching a patina or like a dull finish gloss up over time. Like some people get these things like mirror polished, and I don't have the patience for it, but I do get it pretty good. And you know, as you're doing this, it's kind of buffing up the edge as well. It's a, you know, you're doing a minor sharpening job on the very edge as well, which is nice. You know, I like to strop as much as possible because every time you do a full-on sharpening, you're removing metal, you know? And you don't remove a lot at a time, but if you sharpen your tools a lot, over time you can start to kind of change the edge geometry, or change the, not the thickness, but the width of the blade, the tallness. So I don't tend to sharpen if I can avoid it, but I do strop a lot. So what I'm gonna do now is strop. Some people use a paddle strop, some people use like a belt or something. It really doesn't matter, as long as you get some compound on it and you strop a lot. The way I strop depends on where I am and how I'm feeling. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll lay it down like this and sort of go across like this. Sometimes I'll stand it up, you know, and do this, or, you know, either way, however I feel. Like I'll stand up and hold it down and or whatever. Because I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you, I'm just gonna go across it. I'm gonna hold it like this, and sort of jam it into myself a little bit. Can you see this? Let's get rid of all this drying sandpaper. Sort of jam it into myself just a little bit. And I'm going to come across it. And here's the thing. I'm going to do the exact same cross hatch pattern as I was doing with the sandpaper. And you know, there are those who say that if you strop all the time, you'll never have to sharpen. That has not been my experience. But it definitely reduces the number of times you have to get out the sandpaper or the water stones or whatever. Absolutely, it's part of maintaining a good healthy edge, you know. Maintaining your cutting tools includes some really big things, but it also includes really small things, like just keeping it stropped. You know, keeping that edge in tip-top shape means that it'll take longer for it to dull, because when the edge is cared for constantly, using it all the time tends to beat up on it less quickly. Part of that is also making sure this is a high carbon blade, so I got to keep it oiled. There's all kinds of things. Keep it in the sheath. You know, you're not just going to throw it into a drawer of other metal implements, right? You don't want metal on metal action when you're talking about blades. So, you know, when I'm done maintaining this blade, it's going to go in there. I'll oil it up and I'll put it in the sheath. Some people don't like to oil it and immediately put it in the sheath because the oil will transfer to the sheath, but that's what you want, because there's oil in this sheath. Whenever the blade is in there, it's contacting oil, you know? So yeah, I oil it up. I don't you know, and then slap it in. I rub some oil on and then I put it in, you know? But you don't have to oil it and then let it air dry before putting it in the sheath or anything like that. Or at least in my experience, you don't have to. I have never had a blade crap out on me because I did that, you know? And I think that it's good protective behavior. Now, you'll notice that I'm going towards myself. The way I'm going is like this, but the edge of the handle is hitting the strop before it can go any further. I'm not going to stab myself. And then I'll come back across like this. Now, another benefit of stropping with cutting compound is it actually does remove a minute amount of metal as it polishes the blade up. It's not enough to count. You're not going to sharpen your knife against a strop with cutting compound, that's for sure. But it helps to just polish it up a little bit as you go. So, now that our knife has been given the sandpaper treatment and the stropping treatment, it's time for the oil treatment. So what I do is I take food grade mineral oil, I use a paper towel. I'll essentially do the exact same thing on a knife as I do on an axe. So I take the paper towel and I go away from the cutting edge, because something I learned in graphic design school is that paper is not good for blade edges. I'm doing like along the spine as well, everywhere where there's metal I do. And as I said before, you don't have to douse this thing. You don't have to go, all out with the oil. It just needs a thin coating of oil to protect it. And in fact, while I'm at it, I may as well do the scales for good measure. Now I've got oil all over my hands. As I said, I've got it all oiled up. Immediately put it in the sheath. And that is done. So that's about it. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me while I did a little edge maintenance. So, as I always say, if you like what I'm doing, then please get the conversation started down below. This week, what I want to know is, how do you maintain your blades? Not necessarily the sharpening, just the general maintenance of your woods tools. Aside from that, please share the video, helps me a lot. If you're not subscribed, then please subscribe. If you are subscribed, then hit that little bell and leave me a smiley thumb. If you don't like what I'm doing, leave me a frowny thumb. Thanks for watching, guys.